Hello, Ben Burks here. Want to just take a little bit of time and say welcome to the Made New Facebook page. Want to take just a few moments and talk about a new post on the RU Recovery Program um, website, as well as our Facebook RU Recovery Ministries. It's called Loneliness, and it's done by my good friend, Dr. George Crabb. What a joy it was to read this post and then to make it available to all of our followers. And, loneliness is an issue, particularly recently in America with 13, now 14 weeks of a pandemic, supposed pandemic. That's not what this is going to be about. But one thing happened for sure, that the world kind of shut down. I remember 14 weeks ago, I think it was, when things were really rolling forward. We have RU on Friday night at 7 p.m. And all of a sudden, after meeting with Pastor Kingsbury and a few other staff people, we decided we really don't know what this COVID thing is. And so we need to encourage people to stay at home and stay safe and stay well. We put things on our website. We're in this together. But no matter how much we said we're in this thing together, lots of loneliness crept in. And loneliness can have an adverse effect on people's lives. Dr. Crabb, in this particular blog today, he talks about how loneliness, you don't have much energy when you're alone. God didn't create us to be alone. First of all, he created for us to have a representative. And he desires to be that representative. He wants to be the number one in our life. And he wants to represent us in all things. And that's what happened in the Garden of Eden. Adam and Eve were in the beautiful place, a beautiful garden, wonderful environment. And the devil came in and convinced her to eat of the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And she was deceived, and she ate of it, and she gave to her husband, and he was not deceived. He knew exactly what he was doing, and on purpose he ate that fruit. And a sinful thing happened in that garden. Something died. Their spirit died. They were spiritually dead. And the very first thing they did was went and hid themselves. And I think we see loneliness come right in the picture almost immediately, because there was a longing to be with him, but there was something inside that says, I don't measure up. I can't be in his presence. Let him speak to somebody else, but not to me. A loneliness set in. It was amazing when that first happened. You're looking at a guy that would throw off 4 and 5 miles a day just in my normal daily activity. And that went down very quickly to 1 or 2 miles a day. And Dr. Crabb talks about exercise and how important it is that you exercise and get out of being lazy and just wearing your pajamas all day. And he's encouraging us to stay within a routine. And part of that routine is getting up in the morning, getting dressed, and he talks about exercise. He talks about mental sharpness. I encourage you to read what he wrote about mental sharpness and being mentally prepared. Because I tell you, if you watch news all day and you become addicted to the news, you're going to hear every opinion out there, and it's going to cause you to be emotional. Your emotions are going to run rampant. And maybe the COVID thing is almost over. I praise God that it would be, and thank him if it would be. But there'll be another one. There'll be something else that comes into your life and my life that on purpose attacks us from being together. And we need to pay attention to what the good doctor wrote for us and encouraged us with here today. He talked about different drugs. And we can attest that as we've studied the news and statistics and how every addiction has increased, how drugs and alcohol is way up on the rise. Marijuana is way up on the rise. Smoking. When people are lonely, they smoke. Dr. Crabb made some comments about that. Very, very good comments. And we thank God for RU. We thank God. We want to help. We want to help you. We want to help those who have slid back and gone the wrong direction during these COVID-19 days. We're about to change our website. We're in this together, and roll that away and roll forward with, hey, let's go. Let's move forward. And because I tell you, we can say we're all in it all together as much as we want to. But until you get out of your house, until you get back in the groove of things, until you start spending time with God's people again. You know, when COVID's over, I've heard people talk about how they were out of balance. They were far too busy with life. And they talk about how they need to trim back some things. But let me just say something. I appreciate that. But COVID-19 should not cause you to do less for God. It ought to cause you to do more for God. It ought to cause you not to figure out how you can do less of church so you can balance some other things. It ought to encourage you to do more for God and yet keep those balls up in the air, moving and balanced, that you realize you had let grossly slip. Well, Dr. Crabb really, thank God for him and his ability to help us with this particular blog on loneliness. He boiled it down to the importance of connecting with other believers. We call that the local church. In fact, everything else he says, it seemed to fit under this thing of being with others in fellowship, coming together to hear the Bible being read and preached and taught. Let's get back in church. Let's find the right timing. I know some of you may be high and high risk, and I'm certainly not telling you to do something that's against what you believe is right for you. But for the rest of the world, I've been traveling now for a week or two, and I thank God I've not contacted anything, and you can go out and you can wear a mask. But it's important for you to connect with other believers. I thank God for Facebook. I thank God for live streams and things like that. But it's not the same. It is not the same. I've not missed a church service in the midst of all this COVID-19. I was part of the pastoral staff and would go to the church. And we'd have people come in week 3 and week 4, week 5, and they would come in small numbers because they needed that fellowship. And I remember when we first opened our church back up, wow, man, the electricity and the people doing everything they could to not hug one another. But man, it tells me how much you need those others, and the other folks need you. And that fellowship is so, so important. Dr. Crabb alludes to that in this blog. He talks about Bible reading. He talks about prayer. He talks about serving. I thank God for some of our church people who, even during the COVID-19 in the early days, they put baskets together and took it out to our widows and just stood out in their yard and talked to them. Thank God for people with vision. And I want to tell you, God's given you a gift, and you've got that ability to serve. I'm thankful for those in our church who have continued to give above and beyond even their tithe. And we thank God for what he's done in our ministry and in the ministry of RU and in the ministry of the local churches. And I hear lots of pastors say, we've been amazed at how God has provided. And he's done that through you. And I thank God for that. And so this is not, Dr. Crabb did not come to us today to gripe and complain, but he came to say, I want to tell you, I've learned a few things watching the last 13, 14 weeks on loneliness. I want to encourage you to stop by and go to our website or go to our Facebook page, RU Recovery Ministries, and watch the blog. Read the blog on loneliness that Dr. Crabb put together for us. One of the concluding things he said is stay on schedule. Stay on schedule. I want to encourage you, let's get back to schedule. Let's get up in the morning. Let's get ready. Let's do the things that God's called us to do. Let's be a part of that local church. Let's get back in the groove of RU. Let's get back in the groove of being that choice director, leader, helper, server, mental sharpness, exercise, getting back in the groove. Oh, there's some bad habits that we had that we were exposed to because of COVID-19. I'm glad that I got my driveway fixed. I'm glad that my garage is drywalled. I'm glad for the work that's being done around my house. Thankful. Did I let it slip? Probably. Thank God for a patient wife, loving wife. I thank God for a wife who's been focused on others. But we're glad we got that fixed. But in my mind, I'm thinking, you know what? We need to continue with little projects and little things and big things and schedule them out so that we can move along. So the next time something happens like this, I don't have a honey to-do list that's all the way down the refrigerator. Hey, I'm just telling you. Doc, thank you for the blog on loneliness. And I want to encourage you to stop by and read it today. You can sign up on our main page to receive the VLM Victorious Life Messenger in your mailbox, and we'd like to send it to you. I want to also thank you for being a part of the Warrior Project. Many of you help us with $10 a month. That's all it takes, $10 a month. You can send that into our office at RU, and the address is 333 East State Street, Rockford, Illinois, 61104. And you can send that gift in on a monthly basis. We will send you a newsletter quarterly to your house, and with other things about the ministry and updates and what God's doing with your money. I'm telling you, you can get the gospel around the world. You can help local churches starting up, and you can support helping the addicted all across the world by being a warrior connected to RU Recovery Ministries. We thank God for our partners. We thank God for you today. God bless.